I stopped obsessing over a career. I stopped obsessing over being ambitious. I stopped obsessing over not wanting the 9 to 5. What? I don't know what my future is going to look like because I hate working. You need to stop canceling shifts. You need to rock up. You need to be reliable. I hate working. Welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about all things career and how God is in the business of your career. This is more so about the goodness of God and how God moves and my experience with how God moved, and not so much about the school. For context, this is a testimony of how God moved in my career based off of the last video, which I'll probably put a few clips right here for you guys to see how by God's grace I was able to start a school, and I am now managing that school. So first things first, if anybody is like me and dreaded work, like, I think I need to give some context about who I am and my history with work, because I was always that person that vowed to never work vowed to never have a 9 to 5. I used to pray and ask God, like, God, I don't know what my future is going to look like because I hate working. I remember I used to be a support worker, and God bless my clients because that's the only reason I stayed for as long as I did. But I dreaded every moment of it, okay? Every night that I knew that I had a shift the next day, that's all I would think about. I remember there were times I would go to work and I would just, like, hate is such a strong word, but when I tell you I hated life, like, I used to dread my life. It used to cause so many issues with my employers because I used to always get in trouble. I used to always be told, you need to stop canceling shifts, you need to rock up, you need to be reliable. And I couldn't. I'm like, how can I do this for the rest of my life? Every single day I hate working. And so this really created like a mindset of just being hella ambitious. Like, I was always side hustling, I was always coming up with something, I was always asking God, like, God, you need to give me a business idea today. And I know many of us can relate, like sitting there and crafting up business ideas, searching for ways to make money, doing surveys on the side, I don't know, just finding any type of way to make money. But it like, I'm joking around about it, but it was very serious at the time because work takes up a majority of our lives. Like, we are working majority of the time, whether you work for yourself, whether you have a 9 to 5, like, we need money to survive, so we are working. And every day I was just, honestly, like, I was really dreading life. Like, I was, if I still had access to my Snapchat, I could, I wish I did, but I had so many videos of me at work and I was just captioning, by this time next year I'm not gonna be here, by this time next year. It never happened, by the way, but this was my mindset. Like, I need to be ambitious, I need to hustle. You know, this hustle culture that's going on, that we have to hustle, we need to be boss babes, we need to, right? And so this was my mindset, and I had to completely shift that. It wasn't intentional. I just got to a stage in my life where I completely surrendered my life. And maybe let's call this, like, season of my life the shift, right? Where I just decided to surrender. And it was very much like, God, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. It was, I got to the end of myself, and usually when you get to the end of yourself is when God takes over. If you are still trying to do things by your own strength, then it makes it very, very difficult for God to be able to have his way because you're not completely surrendered. And so in this season, the shift, I had completely surrendered everything to God. I left everything, honestly, everything. And I said, God, just lead me. I ended up finding a job, working in like a learning center. And in this season of the shift, I just did what I had to do. I honestly did what I had to do. I was so adamant on shifting my mindset, on being grateful in this season, of appreciating where I was. I think more of my focus was on God and who God was, rather than where my life was and what my life looked like, and looking to my life as a reflection of how good God was. And if my life doesn't look like it's going anywhere great, then I need to be stressed about it. I need to be depressed about it. I need to dread every single day, so that God can tell that I'm really unhappy. And maybe the more unhappy that he sees me, the more that like he'll work, you know. That was the mindset. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Like throwing tantrums to get God's attention, it didn't work. It didn't work for me. What worked is completely surrendering everything. And during this time, I would go to work. I would go to work. First of all, God gave me a job, and in that job I would go to work. It's not something that I thought was aligned with my life. I was working at an adult like learning center. I started to really enjoy working on the systems. I really enjoyed working in education. There was even a point where my boss really encouraged me to teach classes, so I came up with my own resources, with my own structure, and I would teach these adults things about social media, very basic level stuff. But I really found a love for teaching. I really found a love for education and systems and admin. And so in this season, I'm loving life. I'm so surrendered to God. I have a community at this point. I'm going to church. I have a youth that I'm going to. I'm surrounding myself around Christian friends. I'm so dedicated to reading my Bible, to praying. Like my focus was on God. That was it. I was just grateful that I had a job. I was grateful I would show up as much as I could. I mean, there were days where I called in sick, guys. It was still hard. There were times when I was like, I don't really want to go, but I still showed up. I also remember during this time, I wanted to quit so bad, and God was like, stay. Like, I'm not done with you yet, stay. And shortly after is when my boss asked me to teach. And so what I'm saying, that in this season, the shift is when surrender happened. It is when I was more focused on God. I was more focused on my life. And to be honest, it is a very selfish outlook to be blessed with so much and to just focus every single day on what you don't have, and to complain and to be sad and to be negative. And I stopped obsessing over a career. I stopped obsessing over being ambitious. I stopped obsessing over not wanting the 9-to-5. I stopped obsessing over everything that I wanted, and I completely let that go. And so this took me to season number 2, obedience before certainty. God was teaching me the importance of listening to his voice rather than listening to what I wanted to hear, or to direct my own footsteps above his own. And so in this season, things really started to shift for me. Like God started to really align things. I had moved to a different job by God's grace, in a high school to be specific. I'm still working on a very similar system. It is a bit different because now it's for high school students, so it's a high school education government system and not adult learning. Fell in love with it. I fell in love with the mission. I fell in love with the heart. And so I think that's what was so significant about this season, is that it became more about where can I serve rather than what can I achieve. Like, what is needed, what's a priority, where's an area of concern that God can use me to serve, rather than what can I achieve and what heights can I reach. And so it became very, I guess, selfless. It was not about me and where I wanted to go anymore. It was about where God could use me. The closer that you get to God, the more that you leave your own desires to the side, the more that God aligns you with what is meant for you. Like, let me tell you that God wants you to succeed more than you want yourself to succeed. Like, God wants more for you than you could ever want for yourself. And this is what I realized, that I didn't have to do a thing. Like, the moment that I realized that, guys, my life shifted. I was like, I don't have to do anything. All I had to do was pray. All I had to do was obey, focus my eyes on where my feet were and prioritize just showing up, prioritize just doing my best. Like, if this is the job that God has given me, how can I serve this department? How can I bring value to this department? And I'm telling you, promotions happen. I'm telling you, God moved in such significant ways that I cannot take any credit for it. I can't take any credit for it. Like, it was genuinely all God. And so this is what happened in the obedience. Obedience came with clarity. God started to show me more about myself. God started to show me where he wanted me to be. And in this season came the fruit. Now, the fruit is what I would say is the school, the tangible fruit that many people see, that many people are like, oh my God, wow. And as much as it is significant, and I thank God, the fruit is really the character. The fruit is really the journey and what the journey built in me, and how much more I've been able to recognize God, to understand God, right? It's this continuous journey of life where the more that you depend on him, the more that you overcome, the more that you pray, the more that you obey, the more that you know who this God is, the more that you build a personal relationship with who God is to you, the more that you recognize his voice, the more you understand how faithful he is. Sometimes I like to say it's like having a track record with God, right? You can look at your past and you have a whole track record of how God has moved with you through life. And so this was a very significant moment where I realized that all I had to do was trust God. Like, all these years where I was dreading life, all these years where I started businesses, all these, like, guys, I have notebooks upon notebooks since I was young, of plans. Okay, in the next 2 years I'm going to save up $500 and I'm going to start this business, and if I just try really hard I can save enough. I tried everything. Okay, I tried the drop shipping the paying for ads, the wholesaling. Okay, I've done so many things, and all I had to do was obey God, was to trust God. And so yeah, came the fruit, and by God's grace, God gave us a school to start. God has actioned dreams and visions that I've had since I was very young. I've had journal entries about the concept of this school, Oak Tree, things that, like, I just didn't think were possible, things I didn't even think will happen until I was like 40, 50 years of age, right? And I'm so amazed that although there's this amazing school, although God has finally stepped me into a career that is so fulfilling, a career that doesn't feel like work, and answered that prayer that, like, now I do not dread life anymore. It's, wow, God, like, you are actually faithful. Like, you actually listen, you actually care, you are actually in the business of everything that pertains to our life, especially our careers and the things that we will step into and use so much of our time and our energy and our efforts for the rest of our lives. Like, of course, God, you care. And I think that, to me, is what was so significant about the launch of Oak Tree, and why I felt so led to share this testimony, that hopefully it encourages anybody that feels so discouraged, that feels lost, that maybe you're in that space where you genuinely dread life, where you don't know where you're going. Maybe you're really passionate about something and you're trying to figure that out, you're trying to get clarity. Maybe you're like me, you're doing the hustling and starting up 101 different projects, and you're plotting and planning on how you're going to start from the bottom and get yourself out the gutters and all of those things. Like, maybe that is you, right? I just want to encourage you to keep your eyes focused on the kingdom, to keep your eyes focused on God, and just to know that God cares about your future. God cares about what your career is going to be. Like, he cares, and there is so much that God has given you, whether you see it or not. There's so much wisdom, there's so much heart, there's so much potential and capacity that God has given you, that if you really trust him and allow him to align you to what he wants for you, then you will find yourself living a very fulfilling life. And it may take time. It's going to take time, right? It may take time. It may take seasons where it just seems impossible, but trust me, if God can do it for me, then God can do it for you. And so yeah, that wraps up this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you were blessed. I hope you were able to take something from this video. I'll see you guys next time.